So, Ian, Republicans are in full-blown civil war this week, and honestly, it's the best free entertainment we've had since Rudy Giuliani forgot his hair dye wasn't waterproof.
Yeah, man, this time it's the tech bros versus the MAGA nut jobs. On one side, you've got Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy saying, hey, we need skilled immigrants for the economy. And on the other side, you've got the far right screaming, your foreign doctors and engineers are stealing our jobs.
It's like watching a fight at Thanksgiving dinner, except instead of arguing over politics, it's a racist uncle trying to fist fight your startup bro cousin over who gets the last piece of pumpkin pie.
And leading the anti-immigrant charge is none other than Laura Loomer, who went after Elon Musk so hard this week, I'm starting to think her Tesla got repossessed.
Meanwhile, Vivek Ramaswamy is out here defending H-1B visas like he didn't just take a scam Alzheimer's drug public that flopped harder than his poll numbers. And it's honestly impressive. He's somehow a tech bro and a used car salesman. And I'm a former used car salesman, so I can say that.
And let's not forget the far right's main argument, if Indians are so smart, why is India so bad? Which is peak MAGA logic. Like asking, if Italians are so great, why is Olive Garden unlimited soup and breadsticks?
But hey, it's not just the GOP imploding this week. We've got single-payer health care to fix, this week's top tweets to roast, and we'll end up with a battle royale for our Jackass of the Week award.
Spoiler alert, the GOP Civil War is basically a nomination factory for jackasses, so this one's going to be a tough to call.
All right, let's dive in. This is Jackass Politics, where we call out the nonsense and try to fix a broken system one roast at a time.
All right, so tweets of the week we've got here. So our first tweet is from an individual named Adam Carlson, and it basically reads, I love how every 4 years the political chattering class pretends that the election for DNC chair actually matters. What do we think of this one, Adam? Does this election for DNC chair actually matter?
You know what? Normally, I'd agree. Most DNC chair races are about as exciting to watch as paint dry. But this year, we've got some heavy hitters in the mix.
Yeah, Ken Martin and Ben Wickler are the real deal. Actually, state chair who knows how to organize and win elections. They know how to win in their state. If either of them gets it, the party's probably in pretty good hands.
Totally. And then there's James Scoofless. I think I'm saying that right. Who's saying some great things, but I don't know, Ian. Do you think he's got a real shot?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think so. Scoofus is like a guy with, great ideas at a board meeting who gets ignored because CEOs have already made up their mind. It does feel like, there's some momentum elsewhere.
Yeah, either way, this year's DNC chair race actually feels like it matters. The party needs someone who can rally the base and expand the map. And Martin and Wickler could do that. I really like Wickler a lot.
Yeah, I think you and I are kind of both in agreement on Wickler, but both really in agreement. And I want to kind of flesh this out just a little bit more real quick. But like you said, historically, I don't think that the DNC chair race has really mattered that much. But like we talked about on our last episode, we're kind of looking for a way that the party is going to start to shift in a new direction, right? And this could be a signal, if you got the right person saying the right things like Wickler, this could be a signal that the party is going in the right direction, don't you think?
Yeah, I think what we've kind of seen, here in North Carolina, we just got Anderson Clayton, one of the youngest DNC, or not DNC, but NC party chairs that we've had for the party. She's one of the youngest in the nation. What you kind of saw is before that we had Bobby Richardson, and Bobby was, great at what she did as a politician, but when it came to kind of the running the party part of it, she was more, what's the word I'm kind of look for here? She was kind of hands off, right?
Yeah.
There was not a lot of communication there. There were communication issues. It was looked at as more of a figurehead position and not as something that was motivating.
Yeah.
Anderson came in and changed all that, right? And I think that's kind of what we're going to see at the national level. We just came from having Jamie Harrison, that was the chair, and now we're going to go to somebody that hopefully has some organizing background.
Yeah, I mean, even though North Carolina, the presidential race didn't go for Kamala Harris, what Anderson Clayton has done in North Carolina to energize the party and bring in a sort of a youthful approach and all that, it's basically that's kind of what you and I are looking for on a larger scale for the DNC chair. So,
Right.
yeah, I definitely think I definitely agree that's something we're going to be looking for.
Cool.
All right, tweet number 2. This is one I wanted to talk about because this is not something that happens often enough, and this is going to be relatively quick, but this is something that I think should be applauded. Annie Kuster, she's a representative from New Hampshire. She retires at the age of 68. And she kind of was basically like, I know my time has come, and I can't, I don't have the energy to do this anymore, particularly against Donald Trump. She mentioned later that Donald Trump tried to kill her last time, and she doesn't have the energy for that fight again. I really wanted to just put this one in there because they're in a day and age where it seems like everybody basically holds on until they die. It's nice to see somebody step aside when they realize that they just don't have it, right?
Yeah, I think finally we see a politician who knows when to leave the party. Half of Congress should take notes before they turn the House into a retirement home.
Yeah, I mean, some of those folks are so old, their campaign slogans really should be life alert because we just don't, it could happen at any moment now, right?
Yeah, we really need to start seeing, especially in some of the most blue areas, that we have 80-year-olds running. Like,
right.
You've been there forever.
Yeah.
Step aside. We're not losing that seat. Allow somebody that has some youth and some vigor to build their name and get in there and actually start helping us do some good.
Yeah, and we talk about it. Congress of the United States of America, it's not supposed to be a nursing home for old people, right? It is supposed to be for the best and brightest in our country to represent their constituents. And, it's nice to see somebody that realizes, hey, maybe I just don't have it anymore and it's time to pass it off.
Yeah, I think one of the most alarming things I read was an article by, I think it was Grace Panetta a couple years ago, about how there was a pharmacist that was writing Alzheimer's drugs for members of Congress. Yeah,
that's terrifying. And then you have, what was the representatives? I believe she was out of Texas, was found in
Kay Granger.
Yeah,
right?
Kay Granger found in a memory care facility, and you're just like, this is what we want to avoid, everyone. So yeah. Anyway. All right, tweet number 3, and this one is pretty funny. So, okay, tweet number 3 is 82% of Obamacare applications for 2025 are from states that voted for Trump, and this is a Reuters source tweet.
Yeah, so the same people that are yelling, keep your government hands off of my Medicare, are now also quietly signing up for Obamacare. You'd love to see it.
It's like hating the chef, but still licking the plate clean after your meal. I mean, it's just... we've discussed this in our group chat, you and I, but that, a certain contingent of people who voted did not realize that the ACA and Obamacare were the same thing. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Adam. Do you think that is bad messaging by the Democratic Party, or do you think that that's just... we just assumed it was so obvious that it didn't need a clarification?
I think it was, and I don't think it was actually intentional. Maybe it was, but I think it was actually good messaging on the part of the GOP because it obviously ended up working. People didn't understand the difference between the two. How they don't, I'm not sure. I've seen it in members of my own family that they did. I've had that argument. It's baffling, and they still sometimes don't even believe you when you show them the proof.
Right.
So it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah. It's fascinating because, I watched videos and we started talking about it a little bit, and people were just like, when the ACA gave my mother who has cancer treatment, but Obamacare did nothing. And you just like pulling my hair out, screaming at the screen, trying to be like, oh, it's the same fucking thing. Like, come on. So yeah, that one is it's interesting to see, because that's one thing, and nothing will ever come of it because Donald Trump and the Republicans just do not have a health care plan. They're never going to have a health care plan that isn't anything other than maybe try to deregulate the industry a little bit. But it's funny to see, people so adamantly opposed to something that they, could literally save their lives and they use to save their lives, right?
Yeah. It when it starts coming down to our healthcare, I'm absolutely worried about what's the future holds there.
Yeah.
Trump has talked about that he wants to repeal Obamacare.
Yeah.
One of the main, I told my story in the last episode that, one of the biggest things that Obama really drew me over to the party was how we were different on healthcare.
Yeah.
And how many issues in healthcare really matter. I remember there, oh, you had cancer when you were a kid. Well, you can't qualify for healthcare any longer, right? The pre-existing conditions and everything was basically a pre-existing condition.
Right.
Going bankrupt over a hospital bill is just insane to me.
Should not happen in the United States of America. I mean, it just should not happen here. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I think if it was easy, and I think that if Donald Trump had his way, that he would absolutely repeal ACA and install something else. But I just don't think he has really the motivation. And maybe you and I will disagree on this, but I'm just not sure he has the motivation to really, with what he's doing with illegal immigrants and what he's going to basically try to do with the economy, whatever that becomes. I'm not sure he has the motivation to really go after. I mean, he's had 9 years to come up with a healthcare plan, and the best we got in the debate was concepts of a plan.
That's twice that he's the past 2 elections he's had concepts of a plan.
Right. He had that, what was that empty book that he plopped down on national television? I'm not sure he has the motivation to repeal and replace, but I guess we'll see. All right, Adam, on today's Fix It in 5, we have single payer health care.
Hold on 1 second. Before we get there, there's a burning question in my mind, and I need your answer, though.
Oh, boy.
I really want to know, if you think that animals could really talk, who do you think the most rude animal would be?
What species?
Yeah, what species would be the most rude one?
I mean, gut feeling right off the bat, as somebody who has dogs and cats, I want to say that cats would basically be like no filter and intentionally mean to you. I think dogs would say mean things, just not realizing it's mean because they're so goofy and dumb. I don't know, man. You see some monkeys out there that just give you these death stares or look at you like you're stupid. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe one of the smarter breeds, like a monkey or a dolphin.
I think it would be Canadian goose. Those things are mean as shit, man. I used to go running around this lake back when I lived in Raleigh, and there were Canadian geese on the path. And if they were, you just turned the hell around because they would come after you, and they were scary.
Yeah, they're relentless. Even geese on the golf course, man. Like, I've had to fend some back with a golf club before because they're the ones that just try to pick a fight with you outside of a sporting event because they had too much to drink, right? They're that guy. So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. I feel like a Canadian goose would say some pretty vile things right before.
Well, I don't know the Canadian part.
Yeah,
it might be a little nice.
Yeah, they might.
All right. Anyway, back to Fix It in 5.
On to our Fix It in 5. That is the high level debate that you can expect out of Jackass politics, right there. All right. So Fix It in 5. Single payer healthcare. What do we think on this one?
Here's the thing: we're already spending billions on healthcare fraud. The National Healthcare Anti-Fraud Association estimates that at least $129 billion a year, with some putting it as high as $430 billion a year. That we're spending on fraud every year. Single payer would help eliminate that, and the middleman skimming would come right off the top.
Right, and it's not just about cost; it's about efficiency too. No one should go bankrupt because they got sick. Single payer isn't radical; it's just common sense.
So yeah, think about it. Medicare works, and people love it. So why don't we expand it to what's already successful to everyone? It's not socialism, it's sanity.
And that's, that's the one thing we kind of talk about is every time single payer comes up, the GOP has done a pretty good job of messaging that as socialism. It's really not socialism, right? It's just a sane, humane approach. And as the only really peer nation that doesn't have a system like this, it's just embarrassing that this happens. And I recently read a book that I actually link, and I recommend everybody does read. It's called Health Justice Now by Timothy Faust, and it goes over a lot of these points, particularly on single payer. And you're just like, he fleshes out all the different areas that private healthcare insurance, just opens up for inefficiency and borderline fraud, basically.
And we could also have a system. So I went to school for political science, and I wrote my capstone paper actually about what the best healthcare in the world, system would be and what it would look like. So to me, in based off of my research, it is single payer, and we actually paired it up with basically like mirroring Germany's system a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what you would have is you would have your regular insurance, right, that would cover most basic things. However, you might get double bunked in a room, right? There's two people in a room. You could then have private health insurance. You could still have that whole market, and it would cover additional things. Like if you wanted to have your own single room, or maybe you wanted to have it cover, cosmetic surgeries and stuff like that. There are different levels and tiers that you can have that can go beyond that. But at the base level, you still have single payer, and it just eliminates the middleman. So, like, why do we want to empower a middleman in this case? It just doesn't make sense. We're just handing them money from the government.
Yeah, it's literally, healthcare in the United States is extremely expensive already. And then you add on top of that an entire industry whose sole goal is to pay out less than they bring in. There's no other reason for this to exist other than to generate profit and drive up the cost of healthcare. So you just take that out. No, that's not going to solve every problem with healthcare in the United States whatsoever, but that's a huge, huge savings to the American people. It simplifies their life. Well, it's the first question you get asked when you go see the doctor. Okay, what insurance do you have? And then you have no idea until the doctor submits your forms and you go through all that if you're even covered or how much is going to be covered. It's so convoluted and messy. Single payer solves almost all of those problems right there. So it just makes sense.
Yeah. I'm a big free market person, and the problem with making healthcare a free market is that it's just not, right? Like if I fall off this chair right now and break my arm, am I going to go and search the internet and try to find a price list, which doesn't exist, of who's going to fix my arm for the cheapest amount? No. And not only that, do I really want to go to the person that's going to fix a broken bone the cheapest amount, right?
Yeah.
It's not a true, free market system in itself. So that's why I think we have to treat it a little differently. And this is, I'm a big Teddy Roosevelt fan. As he said, we got to use government where government makes the most amount of sense.
Yeah, 100% agreed. It's efficiency. It's like you said, people, when you break your arm or you get into a car accident or whatever happens, you go to the hospital, right? There's no thought. You just go, please fix this, and don't let me die or don't let me have complications from this. And single payer is the way to go. And as Democrats, I think we've kind of waffled on that from our candidates in several elections. It's do we have a private option? Do we not have a private option? Is Medicare for all the messaging, or do we just say single payer? Do we come up with something else? But I think we agree that single payer is the way to go.
Yep.
All right. Now our Jackass of the Week. And this one is going to go a little differently than last time. We had a consensus on last time, but this time I think we're both nominating somebody different. So my nominee is Nancy Mace.
Why is that?
Last time. So, Nancy Mace is out here trying to play both sides of every issue, and it's like watching a dog chase its tail. Just pick a fucking side and stick with it, Nancy.
Yeah. My nomination this week is going to be Matt Gaetz. We found out just recently in a report where he was out here paying 17-year-olds for sex and drug parties. Unfortunately, the worst part about this, and it's crazy to me, he made them fly Spirit Airlines. I mean, if you're going to be a creep, at least spring for Delta, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least don't go the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the airline. I mean, it's tough for me to argue with any like sort of vigor that, you know, paying 17-year-olds for sex and drug parties is not inherently worse than just being a shitty person like Nancy Mace. But I'm gonna make my case against Nancy Mace. So years ago, Nancy Mace was very pro-trans issues, and during the Capitol riots, January 6th, she hatched this harebrained scheme to go out into the crowd and try to get herself punched in an effort to become basically the top, the cream of the crop for the Never-Trumpers. She thought that Trump was done at that point and there would be no return. Obviously, that did not come to fruition, either one. Trump came back and she didn't do that. But now she has gone full on fucking MAGA. Since the election, she is Sarah McBride is coming in. She's the first trans representative in the U.S. Congress. So Nancy Mace takes it upon her fucking self to make a, you know, implement a bathroom bill or propose a bathroom bill that would keep trans people out of women's restrooms in federal property. And as North Carolinians, Adam, you and I both know quite a bit about bathroom bills.
Unfortunately.
And now she's just got this hold the line hashtag. She apparently got fucking attacked by some pro-trans protester and came in wearing a sling. And then the report came out as no, he just shook her hand and everything was cordial. Of course, the sling lasted like 3 days. I think the other day she was posting something about, you know, the bird flu that's kind of popping up and talking shit about the pandemic and saying, don't take any more vaccines because I'm vaccine injured. This is
she never expanded on what that was.
Nope. She never said anything else. Just vaccine injured. This is the most injured fucking person I've ever seen.
I think, you know, I don't know if you remember during the when they first started doing the shots, they had the videos of the people faking doing like switching around. I could definitely see her filming one of those videos here shortly. If it happens now to where we have to have a bird flu vaccine, I would not be surprised if she's probably going to hold the line, as she says, and not go get it. But she's going to post every fucking video of some person fake fainting at a vaccine at a vaccine appointment. So. Well, I think you made a case. I just don't know. I don't see it beating a government report that comes out and shows with text messages how much of a creep you were. Paying 17-year-olds for sex and drugs and putting them on Spirit Airlines, that's pretty low. That's pretty low in my book.
Yeah, I mean, borderline human trafficking is definitely worse.
So I think we got to say that my vote for this week, I'm going to stick with is Matt Gaetz. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Screw you, Nancy Mace, but yeah, screw you even more, Matt Gaetz.
All right, so the votes are in, and this week's Jackass of the Week is Matt Gaetz for managing to be both a criminal and a cheapskate. So Ian, one of the things that we talked about in our opening was about the GOP civil war that we're seeing. What are your kind of closing remarks on that?
Yeah, so like I've touched on this a little bit on social media, and that I think this is just the beginning and not the end. I think you've got the MAGA base who's still very furious with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk sort of pulling the strings behind the scenes with Trump, particularly this H-1B visa deal, which brings in high quality immigrants, particularly from India. I think 278,000 of currently in the United States are from India. The next closest is China with like 50,000. So obviously huge discrepancy there. But, you know, this to me, you see guys like Nick Fuentes and all these guys that we knew were just inherently racist and against this sort of stuff. You can kind of see that the mask is coming off for the MAGA base a little bit. And that if these were Canadians, would they be so adamantly against it? Probably not.
I
But
mean,
you
they
can
want to make
see,
Canada a state now.
right, exactly.
All of
Um,
Canada a state.
yeah, but it's literally just because it's not white people, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to, and that's what most of their immigration policy is. But you can see, I heard some, or I read some MAGA individuals on Twitter basically saying, basically saying, oh, this is how democracy is. We talk things out, and we may not always agree, but blah blah blah, and that's all fine and dandy if that's what's actually went on, but it's not, right? That's not how it went. Elon basically said, I am not backing down from this at all. I am not, I'm not gonna come back on this, and this is exactly what's gonna happen because I'm the one pulling the strings, right?
I mean, he came over here on one of these visas,
Right.
and probably, according to his brother, illegally
Yep.
did it. This is where I'm also kind of torn, though, Ian, and maybe you'll have an opinion on this as well. One of these sides has a point. I think I can see on both sides of the issue there where they do make some good points. I mean, the guy that came up with 5G internet was a H-1B visa
Yeah.
applicant, and he ended up not making it because we have a lottery system. I don't know how much our audience knows how this works, but basically there's a pool of applications, and then only 85,000 a year get selected. And companies like Google and all these other, Disney, surprisingly, companies are able to put in how many they want, and they can do 1,000 at a time. And basically you work when you get these visas, you only can work for that company, and there's a set amount of rate of money that you have to be paid. And it's supposed to make it where you're only using these because you can't find American people. Now, Donald Trump and Elon have came out on both sides of this. But if you look a little deeper, they're doing it because they wanted to cut costs, right? They're abusing the system. They did what kind of Disney did a couple years ago. Disney got in trouble, and I think it was 2015, where they laid off thousands of workers and then hired H-1B workers right there. And part of the severance package that the original workers being laid off had was that they had to train the new workers. And they were doing this to cut costs. Technically, nobody got in trouble because there was no laws broken. So there are issues there. Both sides do have a point. Like, I want good immigration, right? I think that, for us sitting on the sidelines, we need to make sure that we're solid in our argument too, right? I think that if they want to have a discussion on this, let's encourage a discussion, but let's make sure that we're being productive as well, and we're staking out a good side of the argument.
Yeah, I think this is one of the. So I'm going to use our first ever timeout here, and kind of be able to go back and research this a little bit because I've started to look into it, and I do agree that there's definitely on both sides of the equation. There's definitely an argument to be had. My gut feeling always is that if Elon Musk is pro whatever this thing is, there's some reason that he is personally benefiting from it, maybe to an extent that other people aren't. So I'm going to officially call our first timeout on this one. We're going to do a little bit more research on this exact program, and maybe come back next time with a little more in-depth conversation.
Well, let me change the gears for you a little bit. Who do you think is going to win? I mean, we know this battle is getting ready to happen between Elon and Trump.
Yeah. So I'm kind of two minds on this one. I think I think Trump is going to tend to capitulate towards Elon because Elon bought himself into this administration, basically bought himself into the campaign, and he did that in exchange for something. Elon Musk, like I said, is in it for himself. He is, he's trying to get something out of this. I think now it's bought and paid for, and Trump's got to own it, right? And you go back and you look at his 2016 stance on H-1B visas and his 2020 stance on H-1B visas. He wanted to, at various times, either get rid of the program or walk it back, reduce it, add other requirements basically. And he was like, nobody knows more about H-1B visas than me. And now suddenly 8 years later, he is waffling on this stance. In my opinion, the fact that he has now walked this back and is basically saying, I am for this program right now, just tells me that he's just capitulating to Elon.
Sure. And I just want to point out, my dog, if you hear any weird groans, I don't know if you heard that one while you were talking. That's my dog. I got Luke in here in the studio with me. It's not me, just
it's
over
okay.
here.
It's okay.
I do have a
dogs.
cold.
I got dogs over here and a daughter playing in the other room. So we're good.
I got a cold right now, but I'm just not over here just like letting out weird groans. Right. So back to the question. I think, honestly, if he plays his cards right, and I don't know if he's smart enough to really do this, but I think Elon could be the winner between that fight. Yeah. He's got all the money. I mean, he's the richest man in the world.
Right.
He could buy whatever election he wanted. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yep.
And, we got Trump as a lame duck. He can't run anymore.
Yeah.
So we've seen in the past, his endorsements don't always mean you're going to win.
Right.
So if you're a Republican in Congress, what is your thought on between those two? Do you want the guy that can finance your race? And if you don't run the race the way that he likes, or you get in his way, he's already threatened to, put a primary person up against you.
Yep.
So he's either going to fund your race or fund somebody against you. Or do you want a fake, quote unquote, fake billionaire,
right,
Trump, that says he's going to do things for you?
Yeah, that's a great point, because Trump, presumably after this election has basically no more political value, but Elon Musk still has that political value, and the Republican Party has to go on after him. So that's a great point.
And then, I mean, we've seen it with Biden. We just got a report, I think we talked about it last week, on how that Biden, ever since his first term, has been struggling with health. And he went from, in 2020, having a really good debate and was with it, and then apparently he went downhill pretty sharp. When does that happen to Trump? It happens to everybody. It's going to happen to him eventually, but when is the key, right?
Right. And, people were saying during the campaign that, Trump had dementia or early onset Alzheimer's. No, I don't think that's the case. And I think I brought it up. But when you get old fast, right? It happens really quickly. So like you said, when is that going to happen with him?
That's right. One final question for you, Ian. Do you, I don't know if anybody can see, I murdered my neck before, I got to look good when I come on here. And so I shaved. Do you use an electric razor, or do you like using an actual, like, what do you call it? A safety razor, or like one of those ones that has like the 20 blades on it? I can't use those.
I do. I have an electric razor and I have a straight razor. So if I'm going clean, I go straight razor. It's a single blade. And then I have
like the old fashioned, like,
the old
Wild West.
Yeah.
That's wild, bro.
Yeah,
like that's like I don't know about that, man. That's just like when you're, because I already struggle right here, man. Like I said, I have to use a sensitive safety razor, or else I get like, I'm about as big of a wuss when it comes, and it's not even me personally. It's just my skin. Like my skin is the biggest wuss when I try to like get in here and get it. And
I mean, when I first started using the single blade one, the old school style, I was like, oh God, am I going to Sweeney Todd myself or something like that? But no, I didn't. It ended up being fine. But you do, like, at least for me at first, I lathered on a shit ton of shaving cream when I first did it.
I did that too. I don't know, man. I think I'm going to, I was thinking about it after I ended up looking like somebody tried to Sweeney Todd me after shaving. Like I look like I just started shaving like I was 13 over here, but I swear to y'all, I know what I'm doing. It's just my skin doesn't want to cooperate. Like I even try, they're like, oh, don't lift up the skin and make it tight. Like I'm over here scrunched up, looking like a weirdo, trying to shave, and I still end up just massacring myself here.
All in the finesse.
So if y'all have a electric razor you really like, I'm all ears, man. I need something that won't mess up this real sensitive baby skin that I got here.
There you
And then what do you think about the college playoffs this year?
Yeah, man. Like it's been so first year of the 12-team college football playoff. You know, I personally, a big college football fan. I was really excited about it. Not necessarily the format. I don't like the way that they give buys to just the conference winners, except instead of the top 4 seeds, and that's sort of kind of played out.
Oh, hold on.
That's sort of kind of played out, and we've had. Basically, very few close games. Clemson and Texas was the closest one, but even that ended up being a 14-point spread down at the end. Last night, Boise State, they had their chances. They kept it pretty close until late, but they just couldn't quite establish the run as well as they would like. And then their quarterback ended up throwing 3 interceptions.
Yeah, you're not going to win with 3 interceptions, all right?
You can't turn the ball over and win.
And that's I hate that because weirdly enough, Boise State is the team I pull for. I'll announce Ian is like a savant when it comes to college football. Like I sent him a text the other day of a 3rd string punter or something. I don't even remember what it is. It was some punter that ended up just had a rocket arm or I thought it was a punter. That's what it was labeled on the Twitter video.
Yeah.
And then I sent it to Ian. He's like, oh no, he's not that. He's their 3rd string quarterback. And I'm like, dude, like, how the hell do you know this, Ian? Like
watching too much college football, man. Just watching way too much college football. But
I pull for Boise State, so that
I was
hurt
cheering
me.
for him. I was cheering for him big time. Genty was my Heisman choice, and they just did
highest
no
rated
favors.
PFF.
Yeah,
and he lost to the lowest rate. Is that not mind-boggling to you? Like
it's crazy, and you can see it's like MVP awards and All-Star games. So much of it's popularity contests, and Travis Hunter.
That's bullshit, though, right? Like, how do you change that?
Yeah. It's hard because college football is it's all about business. It's all about marketing. It's all about, and it has been for a long time. There have been several Heisman Trophy winners that I didn't think should have won the Heisman Trophy, and it was all marketing and basically, you look at Colorado, and they sent out Heisman Trophy marketing packets to all the voters that had 2 players, okay? And it had Shadur Sanders and it had Travis Hunter. To me, that is basically case in point number 1 why Ashton Genty should have won. You have a Heisman candidate throwing to another Heisman candidate. Of course, his job's going to be much easier as a wide receiver. What did Genty have? His yards after contact were more than basically every other running back's total yards for the season. He was
like, did you see that run he had against Penn State last night where he drug along like 10 different guys? Like, that was literally the whole team was like holding him down, and he was just still trucking, dude. Like,
that was his whole game last night, though. He was getting hit in the backfield over and over and over. Like he was fighting for his life to get 3 or 4 yards.
I guess it just goes to show that if he gets drafted to a team that doesn't have any line, like the Bengals or something like that, right? I mean, it's not going to matter. No. He needs a line. Yep. Whatever He's team that takes him.
He's human. It didn't look like it at sometimes, but he is human.
Yeah. So. I really am excited for the college playoffs. We're going to get to see another rematch here, Ohio State and Oregon.
Should be a good one.
Who you got on that one?
I am taking, despite my better judgment, I am taking Ohio State in the rematch. And part of the reason was it was a very close game the first time around, 3 points. Oregon won it home. Will Howard was slid late. He could have slid earlier and maybe saved a second and had a field goal chance, but he ran the clock out. Neutral site. Oregon hasn't played in almost a month. Ohio State looked just otherworldly against Tennessee in their first game. I like them to.
But it's Tennessee, though, right?
Tennessee. Right.
Like they were good, but.
Yeah, I mean, true freshman quarterback, Nico Imlevea there, there was his first big moment, and he didn't really pass the test, and Ohio State just looked like, when Ohio State's on, they're basically unstoppable. It's just they have those games every year where they just, like the Michigan game this year, where they just look like they don't belong at all.
Is that Ryan Day that's
Yep,
the
Ryan Day.
problem, or
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, you could sort of see after the Michigan game when the fight broke out due to the flag planting at midfield, he's just standing there like a deer in the headlights, just like on looking like he has no control over this team, the personnel, all that. Sharon Moore for Michigan's getting involved. He's trying to break it up and bring everybody back and be respectful and all that. And then Ryan Day's just glazed, like no emotion, nothing.
yeah, he's sitting on over there staring, asking, well, what happened?
Yeah. Freaking
Like, dude, what do you mean
stare.
what
He's
happened?
in the middle of this scuffle and he's at 1,000-mile stare with his, asking his assistant coaches what happened. And you're just like, this is the level of detail that you're bringing. He's a good coach. I'm going to say that. And it's hard to hire coaches in college football and be successful. Right now, I think there's only 2 coaches in college football current coaches that have won a national championship game. And that's because it's really fucking hard to do. It's hard to recruit and keep your players in this day and age. So, I think he's been part of the issue, but what he brings to the table, and they have plot armor. They basically win 10, 11 games every year, no matter what.
Yeah. So, final question for you on college football here. You were talking about the caliber of coaches. It was just announced recently that Bill Belichick is going to be the coach here in our backyard at UNC. What are your thoughts on that? How do you think he's going to do?
As far as an X's and O's guy, it's very difficult to argue Bill Belichick's not a good coach. So it's very difficult to say that as far as on-field performance, he's probably not. He's going to get the most out of the talent that he has. The question is, this dude's never recruited before. Okay, he's never been in with NIL in college football. Not only are you recruiting high school kids, you're recruiting your own players to stay and play with your team. Now, the thought process is a lot of that burden will go to his son and the rest of the coaching staff because his son is presumably the head coach in waiting there. He was a very good defensive coordinator with Washington. He knows what he's doing. He's younger. But I can't imagine if I'm a parent of a high school kid, 74-year-old Bill Belichick in my living room trying to convince my 16 or 17-year-old kid to go play for him. It's just, it's going to be interesting to see how the recruiting dynamic works out.
I could just see him just going in there, walking in the house and being like, are you going to sign or not? Damn it. I don't care. Like,
That's
just
how it's
make
gonna
up
go.
your mind.
Like his whole NFL career, the press conferences that he had, all the sound bites, all the short sentences to every question. That's how his recruiting is going to be.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode of Jackass Politics. We called out the GOP civil war, laid out why single-payer health care isn't just a good idea, but a necessary one, and crowned Matt Gaetz as our Jackass of the Week. We also dug into a little bit of some sports this week for you.
Seriously, Matt, Spirit Airlines, we keep coming back to this, but the man's out here committing crimes and committing to the worst travel experience possible. Absolutely iconic.
And don't forget, if you have a nominee for the Jackass of the Week or Fix It in 5 idea that you'd like to see, send it our way. We're here to roast and resolve.
Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and don't fly Spirit unless you're under duress. See you next week.
See you.